Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 81. The merchant held the heavy cloths in front of his face, inspecting them closely. Spitting into his palm, he rubbed the moisture into his sun-darkened skin and met the eye of the other man. "You bring forth fine wonders indeed. Would you care for tea?" It was not proper yet to show his eagerness in purchasing the bolts of cloth and other more precious cargo. There was a dance that must be observed. He smiled in anticipation. He could see the other man register his question, greedily tearing his eyes off the gold coins that spilled from the merchant in heavy handfuls. Rasham waited, feeling the tension through his musculature. "Yes, we will drink and speak of other things. Come, shall we adjourn to the veranda?" The man spoke languidly, letting the words flow over his teeth and tongue like butter. Rasham dealt with an equal then. "Perhaps. Yes. Let us see the sights that beckon our senses. This harsh land is barren, but I think you will find the dozens of birds we have brought with us to your liking." Rasham motioned for the two of them to step away from the table upon which the fine weaves lay sprawled. Gold shimmered dully off the coins that lay in loose piles above them. Rasham looked intently at the other man's face, searching with care to spot any reaction that might betray him. Something he could use to extract additional leverage. A quick tightening around the edges of the eyes was all. You could learn more about a man from how he acted in moments of decision than 100 such moments at his leisure. Rasham was impressed. The man moved easily, not looking back or slowing as he passed the treasures littered over the bartering table. Either the man cared little for the payment, or he was schooled in controlling his features and masking them before others. What did this man seek, then? Perhaps this was only a ploy. Maybe he sought something greater, something hidden. Information was far more precious than the meager fortune of gold he had laid out. It had been intended to dazzle, but in truth, what Rasham risked was of small value in comparison to the greater treasures he hoarded. An assassin? Too obvious. He would have been checked for weapons or poison before entering the great merchant caravan. Perhaps then he was nothing but a fool. He almost laughed, catching himself and schooling his features to stillness again. With a gesture, he clapped his hands, and a trio of modestly covered servants appeared, offering a brimming kettle of tea that smoked and soft towels of a muted ivory color that steamed with condensation. He waited to see if the stranger knew the proper etiquette, waiting first for his host to make use of the light towels to clean his face. The stranger waited. Perhaps it was nothing more than a lucky guess, but Rasham waited no more than another moment before moving forward to evenly accept the towel a dark-haired young man offered to him. Turning on his heel, Rasham offered the towel to his guest. It was important that the guest receive the best of amenities, but they must know to first allow the host to make his own selection. Graciously, the stranger held out an arm, turning his palm up to accept the steaming fabric. Internally, Rasham waited as he handed over the piping hot towel. He was patient. If the stranger could slip, he would detect it. Smiling, nothing more than a slight curving of his lips, Rasham offered a pillow upon which his guest could seat himself. The cushion was plush and gave a view over a delicately crafted wooden terrace. The terrace ran the length of several high-vaulted tents. It rose for several levels. Each was filled with birds more beautiful and exotic than those below it. The man graciously took his seat, somehow knowing that it was not good etiquette to allow the tea to cool, thus accepting the first seat offered to him. Rasham could feel his jaw tighten for a moment as he sat, truly curious now who this man could be. He appeared travel-worn and in his younger middle years, with a bright wash of black hair that covered his head. The brown eyes he looked into seemed alive with knowledge, but weary as well. He writhed at his own lack of preparation. Neither man moved. Then in equal time they sipped the wispy dark tea, making appropriate sounds of pleasure at the taste of the dark liquid that burned their tongues of their mouths. Rasham held his breath. He He had miscalculated. He was in the presence of a master. His mouth worked silently, suddenly unsure of his course. The dark eyes flickered with intention from the other man, but he could not guess their depths. He held his composure. Barely. A small trickle of sweat began down his back. He worked to keep it from his brow. What secret did the man know?